Hi everyone, I am going to build an art installation for a festival today, and then I'll show you the results at the end. I am not your biggest festival goer in the world. I go to some festivals sometimes and they're generally quite nerdy. However, I do, when I go to festivals of a more mainstream kind, I normally get chatting to the people who make the art installations. Because I'm a techie, I can't not look at how these things are wired up and built, and I end up having a chat. And I love the art installations you see at festivals. Some of the advice I've been given is you really need them to be interactive so the public can shout at it, press a button, send a text message, whatever, and they need to be quite photogenic. People like walking around beautiful lights, including myself. So what can I build that fits that bill? Well, I saw earlier this year some pictures online from Burning Man where something called Bitcube had been created. Some people had created I think it was 8x8x8 cube of IBC water tanks. These were huge water containers, which I think is quite affiliated with Burning Man. You need to take a lot of water from what I hear. And they put a light, an RGB LED or bulb in each one of them, and you could create some beautiful effects. And I thought, could we ever do something like that in Britain? Well, I can't, because I would need to store a lot of these water tanks. I calculated it was something like, it was a hollow cube, so about 150, 100, I don't remember. Lots of cubes. So I can't have that many IBC tanks. I don't have the storage in my house. So I looked at one of my customers that sells these translucent plastic oil barrels. They're about yay big. And again, I'd have to store them afterwards. They couldn't do me a loan. So I looked online, I found a few options, and then suddenly I stumbled across that. Antifreeze for the car, or screen wash for the car. This is a 2.5 litre water canister, or liquid canister. I had a look and saw what options were out there, and then there was a 10 litre one. Now 10 litres, it's about 30 centimetres high, about 25 wide and deep, and it's stackable. So now we're onto something. If I can get a 20 by 10 grid, that'll be 5 metres wide and 3 metres tall. That's plenty enough to dance around in front of, pose in front of, and most importantly, you can write words in that kind of height of text. That kind of height of pixels. 10 pixels high, I think you can make an alphabet out of about 8 pixels that's pretty clear, and hopefully someone can maybe make an animated GIF thing. So when I was a student in 2002, I saw a project that had been carried out the year before in Germany by the Chaos Computer Club. They called it Project Blinkenlights, where they took a building and they put a floodlight in each window, and it was 8 tall by 18 windows wide. That's 144 pixels. And what this accomplished was a digital animation player or a digital screen so that members of the public could send in animations that they'd drawn up. They could send in text messages, or they could dial in and play Pong on the side of the building. This was back in the early days of tech where people didn't have smartphones really. So this was quite a fancy thing. And I think I would like to do something similar. I think I can take some of that idea and apply it with the plastic barrels. With RGB LEDs, I can create any color of the spectrum for each one of these barrels. So I can create a pixel wall that members of the public can interact with. And there are loads of ways we can interact with it. I'll start off with a pretty animation of color and then just build from there, hopefully with text. The festival I'd really like to take this to is not far away, and I believe there may even be some of the Chaos Computer Club people at it, so I would very much like to hear their opinion on it. So I've just done a load of shopping. I've bought some bits. I have used this as a test. I've held this up against the LED tape in my ceiling, and that should be enough to confirm this will glow with about 6 or 7 LEDs. So that'll do me for now. I've purchased some LED tape, some power supplies, some tech to drive it all, and 10 litre jerry cans. That's 4 times the size of this. That should be enough to get started with. That should be enough to do some experiments. And I've checked the shipping times of the company. I can order a pack of 200 and still get them in time for the festival that starts in 1 month. Unfortunately, it's 3 weeks shipping time on the LEDs, so I've needed to buy all of them up front without knowing if they're going to work, but I think they will. I think they will. Okay, I've been rooting around all the cupboards and trying to find what I need. I've got my Amazon orders come through, and I think I've got everything. This is the wire. Decent gauge, it should hold all the current. Got a whole lot of LED tape. Many packets of, but I won't need them for quite a while. I've opened one though, so you can see it. Isn't that nice? Isn't it lovely? Etc. I've got some cables to connect each LED tape to the next LED tape in the chain. I ordered two 50 amp power supplies. Brilliant. They should have enough to power this whole thing. Yeah, a word on current. I way over-engineered this thing. I read the spec sheet for the LED tape, and I thought I understood it clearly that I would need 8.3 amps for every single one of the 5 meter LED tapes, of which I had 10. 10 multiplied by 8.3 is 83.3 amps, right? Not right. You get to now laugh at me for the rest of this video as I over-engineer this entire system to be able to handle 83.3 amps. When I actually connected an LED tape up to a bench power supply and measured the consumption, it was less than 2 amps. This whole system could have been done on a 20 amp power supply, and I still haven't understood why. Please, if you know, tell me in the comments, but be kind, please. Thanks. These I'm using as buzz bars because that's what they are. This contains this, which is the pin-out breakout board for a Raspberry Pi. Talking of Raspberry Pis, a few years ago, I obtained a few. Some new, some old. But I've got, I think that is a pretty old one. But it should do the job beautifully. That's a box. Whole lot of Raspberry Pi bits. There, have that as a prop. 60 amp breaker. Now, when every single LED is on full, the whole circuit will draw 83.3 amps. But I'll put the 60 amp one in for now, because I want something. Tools. Got this for £2 at a car boot sale, and according to this label, found to be safe. Safe, proven safe. But what this will mean is there will be a lot of 16 amp power supplies around the site, and this is the connector for 16 amp power. And once you connect this up, you will then get mains power. But I'm going to cut this in half so that this can feed my system, and this can tap into the system, so I've got something to power the Raspberry Pi from. Waterproof box, that's where I'm going to join the mains cabling together, because I have 2 power supplies needing mains power, and I need this to power the Raspberry Pi's 12 volt transformer. Ooh, more tools. And the entire circuit is going to be mounted on some bits of wood. So, that should be everything. There is always something I forget though, so if I need screws, I own a lot of screws. This is thin. Yeah, I need some small screws, so bear with me. Closed. Okay, so due to reasons beyond my control, we're going to be using bolts to hold this whole system together. Because I have bolts in abundance, so we have them too. Let's get started. Okay, so the vague premise is that the power supplies and the junction box and such, they're all going to go on a sort of lower tier of the bit of wood. I'm going to be using some long bolts and some nylock nuts to act as a sort of standoff, so the lower shelf will hold the higher voltage power supply, or the higher current power supplies, and on the top shelf is where I'll put the Raspberry Pi and the lower safe to poke at circuitry, and where I'll need to access on a regular basis. I'm looking very smug at my beautiful setup there. Right, next bit. The power stuff. Right, so I had a spare computer cable, chopped the ends off, spare mains cable, great. I'm going to join it, the 13 amp and the 16 amp connector, all together in that waterproof box in a piece of terminal block. Then I'll run the mains cable to each of the 2 power supplies. Does what I need. Fantastic. Power junction box in. No switches or anything yet, but power junction box is in. Powering the 2 power supplies. Fine. Next step is probably going to be screwing it all together and then getting the buzz bars in for the LED strips themselves. Okay, so top shelf goes on. The bus bars are going to be bolted in place just to make sure it all fits right, which it does. And the circuit breaker's going in, and yeah, you're going to have to watch me strip some cable in a particularly unprofessional way. Okay, great. Fantastic. Look at this. Ooh. Incoming power. Auxiliary power. The power powers the 2 power supplies. One power supply, positive, goes to the breaker. The other power supply, positive, also goes to the breaker. Thus, at that point, the 2 power supplies are joined together. The breaker's output goes to here and here for the positive. So this, 2 positives. And the negative goes to there. The negative goes to there, and this cable here makes sure the 2 of them are connected to one another. So if one power supply fails, the other can sort of take over. So common ground, common positive. So we got back from a weekend away, and I've been told that the parcel has been left with my neighbour. Yep, there it is, safely with my neighbour. This is the first box of JerryCanvas, which is how this whole system is going to work. The whole system is designed to illuminate these. So, this is the first time I've opened the box and seen its tasty contents. So, I'm nervous, because if these are awful, if these are opaque, if they're tiny, then we're going to have a bad time. Ooh. Why is that one not got a lid? They're smaller and chunkier than I thought they'd be. Definitely smaller. Each one of these is going to be 1 pixel on the final product. I don't mind that they're small. Makes them a lot easier to carry around. And this is the first time tonight that I will know whether they absorb enough light. Okay, this is probably the best visual I've had so far. These are the jerry cans. They are stackable, and what I can definitely ascertain, they're not very stable. So I'll definitely need something to stop the whole stack from falling over. But that is a problem for future Dan. Dan of the present has one big worry. Will these give off enough light to make this glow? Because I am terrified that they won't.
Okay, setting the 5%.
Yeah, that'll be awesome if that works. Bear in mind, that's just my phone. And these barrels like to wobble. I can call that a legitimate test that when the barrels fall on you, they don't hurt. However, one did fall directly onto the Raspberry Pi. Which has survived. Yep, that was a genuine ARG. Of course it survived. The Pi was going to be fine. Those barrels weigh nothing, and they're pretty blunt, so that's fine. But that test was a genuine accident. I was curious how high I could stack the stack, and I got to about 6 or 7 before it toppled. Now, I would never leave them unsecured at a live event, but I'm curious how stable it would be, and the answer is nowhere near stable enough to even assemble in my own lounge on the floor. So I've had a conversation with a friend of mine and we're noodling with the idea of using glue gun glue or silicone sealant to stick them together. I am trying to non-destructively stick them together, so the idea of putting a screw through them or some other permanent install isn't appealing to me. I have asked the festival, I've now liaised with them, and they have offered me some big pieces of wood, 2.4 meters in height. Now, it's a 3 meter high wall, so 2.4 meter might be enough. I might also sandwich it between some scaffolding poles. We'll see what options are available to me. But I'm going to do some experiments with glue gun glue later. In the meantime, the next step today is getting the LEDs to work and seeing what I can do with this wall. So I've taken the Raspberry Pi, I've installed the Raspberry Pi OS on it and installed the Python development environment on it. Let's see how it goes. Okay, absolutely nothing happened.
Run. Ah! Yeah! Strange behavior.
I may have a solution to our problem of flickeriness by following the instructions the internet said to follow from the beginning. Namely, being irresistible. 220 ohm resistor. Everyone's favourite ohmage. Yep. It completely fixed the problem. Code is set to go red, then green, then blue. Run. Red. Blue. Green. What? I said red, then green. Yeah, I did say red, then green, then blue, but turns out that's not how it is. I just automatically assumed it was all like when I made color combinations with HTML back in the 90s, which is red, then green, then blue. It just turns out this library was red, then blue, then green. So you can currently see my little script that I wrote to say go red, then all go blue, then all go green. And it was really satisfying. It was so simple. I really shouldn't celebrate it this much, but it was exciting seeing my project come to life for the first time ever. So, what I then did was I set some jerry cans up on the sofa on top of the LED tape, and when the lights were dimmed, you could see them glowing. And it was just wonderful seeing them glow. It was the first time I had proof it was going to properly work. And this was what I call the cop-out stage. If I couldn't make any code to write words or play Pac-Man or whatever, then I could at least do this. Have pretty flashing patterns. So as you can see at the moment, I've taken one of the barrels away and you can see not all the LEDs are illuminated. That's quite intentional because some LEDs, I'm going to have to make something to map the LEDs to the barrels to set the pixels. And that is going to need some programming help. I can code, but I'm not a coder. And it just so happens a friend of mine has been teaching our group of friends Python programming for the last few months. So I got in touch with him and he was rather interested in the project and he really got behind it. And then he introduced the concept to the Python programming team and everybody else suddenly got excited about it and they all wanted to help. And that led to the next phase. Well, hello. Thank you very, very much for watching what I'm going to call part 1. I'm afraid the festival that I have built this crazy little assemblage for is actually tomorrow, and I need to do some last minute tweaks and get everything packed, which means I'm stopping this video here. There will be more coming in the form of the hackathon, where my friends and I all gathered together and coded this thing. Then there will be my 40th birthday party, which is where we got this thing assembled and running some code for the first time ever in full size. That's fantastic. You'll enjoy that one. And of course, in the next few days, I will be filming this thing at the festival. So, you may notice today I have not gone very deep on the technical side of things. The circuit diagram was very simple, so I didn't bother. But if you'd like to see more of that, let me know. If you'd like to see more of the disasters that happened, let me know. I don't know what you'd like to see more of, so please tell me. Use the comments thing to make your comments and say, we want more of this and less of this and more of that and some of that. Please, I do listen to all feedback, so let me know what you want to see. Subscribe if you want to. And I hope you enjoy what is to come. Thank you very much for indulging me this far. Thus far. Also, I'm going to take this opportunity to say bus bar. Bus bar, not buzz bar. Why did I pronounce it like that?